Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Good morning, Scott.
Hello, sir. Now, to be honest, you would think that maybe we could go a few days without some sort of big top-tier publisher thinking of a new way to fleece us, but no. Of course not. Especially not when 2K are involved. So, turns out that they've turned on in-game advertising after launch. NBA 2K21 came out back in September 4th, but very recently across this weekend, a lot of players noticed that they were getting unskippable in-game adverts in between. They're on the load screens, but they clearly don't need to be there for that long. But the point is that post-launch, like what EA did with UFC 4, they've put in these unskippable in-game adverts just as a ridiculous middle finger to people who have paid full price for a premium product.
Why does it always have to be so sleazy, man? Like, I wouldn't respect it if they were upfront and being like, look, we've got ads in here now, like, deal with it. It's always just sort of like a post-launch. Yeah, it's always like some post-launch patch where suddenly people wake up one day, they go on and they play their game that they're really looking forward to play, and then there's just ads there, and it's like, cool, this is awesome. But I think it is especially egregious for, like the 2K Sports series, because even though UFC, like, that absolutely sucked, EA did quickly respond, but when it comes to, 2K and NBA and stuff, it's on top of these kind of wider issues with the publisher and these games specifically just trying to rinse the fans of like as much money as possible. 2K was obviously, one of the first publishers who came out and said that their next gen games were going to be $10 more. They've had the in-game ads, and they've got aggressive microtransactions in the game itself to, encourage people to just either be spending money or watching adverts so 2K gets money. And it's like, at what point do these games just become like, conduits for taking money out? At what point does the game stop becoming like fun, or the experience stop becoming worthwhile, when it's just like, this money-making machine, like to the utmost extreme? When you look at the future of gaming, like this is the worst case scenario, isn't it? And it's already kind of happening now, and publishers are trying to see just how much they can get away with.
Well, for the longest time, obviously because Battlefront 2 was sort of the apex of cosmetic microtransactions and microtransactions being recognized as bad, and sort of the legal ramifications of it and how it looks when you put them in something that a product that is intended for all ages, or the gambling side of it, all that kind of stuff. And I feel like the industry started to pull back from that stuff, and they've kind of settled around the idea of like, well, cosmetic microtransactions are okay, or at least they're sort of more palatable than anything close to a pay-to-win thing. But there was so much money, or there is so much money tied up in game-based microtransactions that for me, any publisher, like I've been waiting for the last few months, for the last few years, trying to think, waiting for a publisher to be like, okay, what can we do that's going to let us recoup some funds? Because the public don't like the microtransaction stuff as much anymore. So what can we do? And I feel like EA tried it with the in-game advertising on UFC. There was a massive backlash, because I feel like EA are forever in the spotlight when it comes to bad stuff, more than 2K, which is another reason why I think 2K have gone for it. Because the EA thing blew up. I do have their response, because the EA thing, they put in in-game adverts. It was for The Boys Season 2 in UFC 4, and everybody was like, look, what the hell are you guys doing? It just doesn't look right or feel right. We've already paid for this game. We shouldn't have an unskippable advert in it. They said EA's response was that it's abundantly clear from your feedback that integrating adverts into the replay and overlay experience is not welcome. The advertisements have been disabled, and we apologize for any disruption to gameplay that players may have experienced. And they took them back out. 2K though threw in their advert for Oculus, and at the minute, nearly all the reports to do with this say that they've got in touch with 2K for a comment, but 2K haven't responded yet. So it feels like if you were Mr. 2K, then you're like, well, we're not going to get dragged for this as much because we're not EA. And clearly, like I said, for me, if I'm just sort of analyzing why the hell you would do this, I think it's a publisher's way of thinking, how can we recoup some more money? But I don't think this is the way to do it. I think that all those profits were overinflated in the first place, and maybe you just need to accept that you can't be as greedy. I
don't think they can,
that.
Scott Hilford. I don't think any kind of big publisher can do that, because when it comes to microtransactions or increasing the price, there's always like arguments behind it of, well, the developers need to be paid. They need to be paid for their work. We need to hike the price up, and if we hike the price up, that means
we can't possibly afford it.
Yeah, they won't be as greedy on the other fronts, you know what I mean? If we make games $70, then they won't need to put microtransactions in, they won't need to put ads in, but we know by now through sheer evidence that it's never kind of an exclusive thing. You know what I mean? These different monetization systems, they're not mutually exclusive. They don't replace each other. In many cases, if publishers can get away with it, they'll just continue to stack them all until they make the most money kind of imaginable. And that's what's kind of the most frustrating part, because some of these systems I don't have inherent problems with. We are on a platform where we make most of our revenue, if not like 99% of our revenue, from advertisements. But the difference is, and there's always some Johnny Jokers down in the comments when we do analysis on like advertisements and games who say, you know, Scott, Josh, how can you be saying this when, you know, we've just had an advert on YouTube and stuff? Well, the difference is we're not asking you to pay $60 up front for this game. We're not kind of shilling you with microtransactions on top of it. Like inherently, they're not evil systems on their own. It's just when they're all piled on top of each other like this, when they're communicated in such a kind of nefarious, insidious way, and when all they really add to the overall experience is giving more money to the people at the top of the publishing house, and it's not like there to help working conditions or, you know, to lower game prices or anything like that, or give you free content. It's just another way that publishers can like spin getting more money out of a product that you're already paying, you know, a premium for, essentially, at the end of the day.
Well, plus as well, 2K21 still has microtransactions, and on the next gen version, it'll be $10, £10 more, and they have the in-game advertising. So it's like, it's like double, triple dipping in regards to, like, you know, it's almost like they would have had these meetings to be like, well, you know, this thing's going to go, this thing's going to have some backlash, this thing we can get away with, this thing is palatable, but the optics of XYZ is going to cause backlash or whatever. And obviously they roll the dice on what they think they can get away with, because I just have to imagine that all those conversations factor in the reality that people aren't going to respond to in-game adverts very well. But 2K have been so like on the nose with their, you know, even on the microtransaction front, where last year's game had the full-on gambling interface with the slot machine to unlock different things, and it's just like, I don't know, there's almost like a weird sort of like mad cackling little finger to the side of the mouth style, like I'm just that twisted and evil because that's just what we do, and like, you know, if we just keep this up long enough, then we'll be known for it, and then they can sort of steer through the fog, and like, you know, somehow on the other end, that's just, if you're buying a 2K product, or especially an NBA 2K product, then you know what to expect, and you expect to be fleeced. Like, I think all that stuff is just really rancid. I wouldn't mind a premium product that was a premium product that didn't need little bits and pieces bolted and stapled on, or pieces of content held back to pay for going forward.
You're dreaming there. You're absolutely dreaming there.
I know. Especially going forward, and like, you know, but they are like, you know, hiking the price up to try and sort of make up the difference. But I just see them dipping in as many many pools as possible. What do you even dip in? Some sort of money well.
I think. Shallow puddles.
Various money wells. But anyway.
If I had to put my tinfoil hat on, Scott Tilford, for a second and kind of think about what the worst case scenario for this is, I wonder if it's just them trying to cram in everything to take the heat off like the baseline microtransactions or something like that. If you add in ads, if you add in all of these different controversial elements that then take the spotlight away, and then they eliminate them, they eliminate ads, and then you have people and players going, well, at least we've only got microtransactions this time. At least we've only got these systems and not the extra stuff, the ads, the price hike or whatever. I wonder whether, and again, complete tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, if it's just a case of throwing the worst, most piping hot controversy on top of something to hide or make people okay with a certain level of BS.
That's like, you know, oh, well, this building was on fire over here. That one's now just smouldering. It is still on fire, but it is just smouldering. But there is a blazing inferno over here. It's like, well, look, this one needs a lot more attention. Like, well, yeah, I guess that's a lot worse. But this one still is on fire, though, to be honest. But I don't know. I just, like, at the turn of the generation, there's going to be companies like this that are going to take advantage of this stuff. I just think, like you said at the very beginning, it comes across as inherently and incredibly nefarious when they do it post-launch, when they get to benefit off positive reviews, or at least any sort of positive momentum around the game launching. And then in UFC's case, it was 2 weeks after launch. In this case, it's been like a month after launch or whatever. Either way, it wasn't part of the review build. It wasn't part of the, you know, it's not what people bought into. It's not like it was clear. It wasn't part of the marketing saying like, we're going to have this stuff. I just think it comes across as pretty insulting to the people that pay especially that much money. And I'll be curious whether or not this stuff, if there's a big enough backlash, if we can help sort of contribute to a big enough backlash against it, like was the case with EA stuff, that maybe they'll pull back rather than, you know, release the next gen version that still has in-game adverts and stuff going forward. But yes, let us know what you think down in the comments below of the idea of in-game advertising. Does it seem like a big old deal to you, or is it something that, like we've said, just needs to be rallied against? For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Josh from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time. Bye.